Hello and welcome. So let's do a little ACT practice. Hiking path to a top of a mountain makes at the steepest place an angle of 35 degrees with the horizontal, and with the horizontal and has an elevation of 300 meters, as illustrated below. Which of the following is the closest approximation to the horizontal distance from the top of the mountain in meters over this 300-meter section? So, essentially, while it's really saying you have a bunch of words up here, all of these words are saying is that look at the diagram is really what this is doing. This is just a right triangle trigonometry problem. Now we have a couple more values here. We're told that cosine of 35 degrees is 0.82, right? Sine of 35, 0.57, tangent of 35 degrees, 0.7. Now these are just for decimal approximations. If you don't have a calculator that's capable of evaluating tangent, sine, and cosine at 35 degrees, then that's why these values are given to you. Okay, so if you don't have a calculator capable of doing it, use those decimal approximations to get those values. Okay, but if you do have a calculator, like if you have or something, which we'll notice right here, right, we have these sine, cosine, tangent buttons, right? If you don't have those buttons, you'll have to use the approximations. Okay, so looking at this thing, how do we solve this? Well, whenever you see a right triangle, right, and you have anything with sides in a right triangle, you're going to be using sine, cosine, and tangent, most likely, right? So these can be remembered in one very nifty way, an acronym called SOHCAHTOA, right? S stands for sine, right, our sine over there. C stands for your cosine, and T for your tangent. Okay, and how we know which one we're using is you essentially look at your diagram, your picture, and we say, all right, all of these are from the angle that is given. So 35 degrees is our angle. And now we can figure out what these remaining things are, right? The O stands for opposite side of the triangle, and that is going to be our 300 here. And the reason why we know it's that 300 is because whenever you're using anything trig function, you're always looking at the angle. And you're saying, okay, in relation to this angle, what sides do we have? O is the opposite side of the angle. H is the hypotenuse. Well, if 35 is the angle. If we draw a line straight from it, we'll see that the opposite side is at 300. The hypotenuse is always across from your right angle, so that's the H side. And last but not least, we have this A. Okay, and that stands for adjacent. Adjacent. Okay, and we know that the adjacent side in this case is our question mark because it's literally adjacent, right? If you were to just like the side that's literally connecting to the angle you're given is the adjacent side. Remember, adjacent just means next to. Yeah, question mark's literally right next to that 35, and that's why we call it the adjacent. So then you say, all right, well, we're given two things apart from our angle. We're given this 300 and we're told that this is our question mark. Your goal is to solve for question mark. So then you'd say, all right, well, which one of your trig functions uses the opposite and the adjacent side? Well, that's going to be your OA, specifically standing for your tangent. So you'd say, all right, so tangent of what was our angle? 35 degrees equals the opposite side over the adjacent side. Well, we know what the opposite side is. We're told that's 300. We know what the adjacent side is. That's our question mark. I'm going to call it X for now. Okay? And then we literally just say, okay, so that means your tangent of 35 degrees is 300 over your X. And that's it. That's really as crazy as you have to go with this thing. Okay, now if you want to use your decimal approximation, we know that tangent of 35 is approximately 0.7, so you could say 0.7 equals 300 over x. Okay, or you can use in your calculator, you could say tangent of 35. Make sure you're in degree mode, and when you are, you'll notice you get that 0.700207538, right? If we round that off, you'll end up at that 0.7, and that's why that decimal approximation works there. Alright, we come back with, alright, well, if we solve for x, it's in the denominator of a fraction. Fractions are division. We undo division with multiplication. So both sides multiply by x. Okay, so then the x's on the right will simplify with each other, and you get 0.7x equals 300. Well, how would you solve for x, right? That's your goal, is to get x alone. 0.7's next to it, being multiplied, and we undo multiplication with division. So divide 0.7 both sides. So this is a little more calculator friendly. If you have a calculator that can't do your trig functions, and you could say, all right, so 300 divided by 0.7, and you will approximately get 428.57. So approximately 428.57. Okay, and then you're essentially looking at the closest answer, which in this case is 430. Okay, you solve for x, you solve for your question mark, that is the horizontal distance, right, of your triangle. That's what you're solving for. So you'd bubble it, and you're done. Okay, not too shabby. It really just boils down to look at the triangle you're given, what sides of the triangle is it, which one of your trig functions does it relate to, set up the ratio, solve it. Okay? Thanks for watching.